Well, hello, it's Cliff here. In this video I'm going to introduce the Hallmark ITTP Pro. It has the same internal design as the standard ITTP, but it has a couple of additional features. It has a hard-wearing anodized body that won't scuff, hard anodized blue, and it has a pluggable connection on the side. So this new version is pluggable and unpluggable. It has an XLR mini plug and socket. That's a really good type of plug for this application, with a little button to release, so it's quick and easy and it just plugs in. I'll take you over to the machine where I can better demonstrate the advantages of a pluggable and unpluggable ITTP. So in this case we've got the 5-pin DIN plug on one end and the 3-pin XLR mini on the other end. So we can plug it in, if we've got a Hallmark for example, straight into the operator panel there, or if you've got a later version of Hallmark, you could be round the end of the cabinet, and you can leave it permanently installed. When we have it plugged in, the machine doesn't see the connection as in operation because it's still just an open circuit. But when we want to use the probe, we can connect the probe without having to bother with a cable on the probe, and then just connect up that cable. Now we have connection, we can just go straight ahead, do our probing and return the cable back to its position. Now this has advantages in some situations, especially where you've got the accessory connection out of reach and you can't easily reach across. So have a think about whether that suits your situation. It may suit other machines other than Hallmark's well as well, because we can produce different cables, or you can produce different cables with different connectors on the other end. Another advantage of not having the cable is that it just makes it a little bit easier to handle and manage. You now have a probe which has not got a length of cable attached to it. The cable's connected to the machine. So if you're interested in this, have a look at underneath the video. There's a link to the Hallmark website where I'll go into price and availability for this model. So you can see having it pluggable and unpluggable has some real handling advantages, but I've always resisted making that change because I didn't want to add another factor to the reliability of the ITTP. It's really important to have a reliable probe. You don't want it working intermittently, and a connection at that point adds another potential for problems. And it's only after really investigating different types of connections I decided that the mini XLR socket and plug was worth investigating. So I built a couple of prototypes and found it to be really good. I can demonstrate it here. I've got this little testing station that I test all of the ITTPs before shipping, and I can, with this, check the impedance through the contacts inside the probe. So we can see here what the resistance is through the probe circuit. It very quickly comes down to single digit. So if I move the stylus in different directions, X plus, X minus, Y plus, Y minus, you can see the resistance through the circuit, and it's annoying, isn't it? I'll turn that off. And you can see it very quickly comes down to single digits. And so I can very quickly get a feel for how all of the contacts are working. And these probes with the tri-swing arms have actually 6 sets of contacts. So there's a lot of potential for unreliability there. And it's really important for me that the Hallmark probe is not only accurate and impact tolerant, but that it's reliable and has good long-term reliability. So I found that I'll have to switch it on again for a minute to demonstrate this feature, but bear with me, I'll put the little beeper on. I found that with this XLR contact, if I waggle it around, it just doesn't break contact. So when I put it in, it makes contact and I can wrench it around in all directions and it doesn't lose connection. So that means that that little plug and socket there, which is easy to put in and out, it just clicks in very smoothly and easily, and it locks in so it can't come out while you're using it. But there's a little button on the side, you just push that and then you can remove it. And that makes 100% connection all the time. It's not an intermittent connection. I think I should keep the standard version available for sale also, because it can be made to a lower price point. It has a good quality cable that's permanently attached with this gland fitting. The body is a little bit more able to be scuffed because it's not hard anodized with the blue dyed hard anodizing, but other than that it has all of the same internal features. So I thought about producing an upgrade kit, you know, an anodized body with a XLR socket installed, but really that would be quite a lot of cost. By the time it was shipped mainly to the US, is where the main buying group is, it would be quite an expensive process, and then you'd have a lot of work installing it all. And then you'd have a redundant silver body. I think it would be better, if you really want these features, is to buy one of the Pros and sell your old ITTP for that sort of cost difference anyway. And then you're releasing another one of these onto the market for the folk on a different budget. So rather than having an upgrade kit or information on making those changes yourself, I think the best way forward is just to pick up one of these Pros. Some of you might have good skills with wiring, soldering, and instrument making skills, and you would be quite comfortable with installing a XLR socket to your existing ITTP. Well, it's not an easy job. There's several traps, and I wouldn't encourage that. But you know, if you've got high skills in that area, send me an email and I can send you a little bit of information to assist you with that. But I don't want to support or encourage a really complicated rebuild that I know will be difficult for most people. I know some of you have been asking, well, why don't you make a wireless version of the ITTP? And you probably know there are other manufacturers producing kits that adapt the ITTP to wireless, and I haven't got involved in that myself. I see the main market for the ITTP being people that want the three main features: accuracy, impact tolerance, and long-term reliability. And I think keeping the design as it is gives me the best ability to provide those three features. If you decide to go for a ITTP Pro, you need to decide what type of cable you want. And we've obviously got the ability to have a lot more options here. I've been making the probes all along with this really good quality, high density synthetic rubber cabling. Here's the rolls I've been buying here, and it's really expensive, good quality cabling. We're talking about, in US dollars, 150 US dollars a roll for about 100 meters. But you know, so that these sort of things add to the cost of the probe. But I think it's worth it to have this nice kink resistant quality cabling. So I'll offer a couple of different cables on the website if you have a look there, with the XLR plug on one end and a DIN plug on the other end to suit the Tormark situation of a convenient length. So a note on length while I'm there, It's best to have as short a cable as you can, because then you've got less cable management issues. You know, you've just got a short optimized length of cable that you plug into the accessory socket and plug into the probe, and it's not draping in the table and the coolant and the chips and so on. So you don't want to buy an excessively long cable just to be sure that you've got enough length covered for that reason. So I'll probably offer a cable that's 1.3 meters long, which suits the accessory socket on the front of the cabinet. But for people who don't have a Tormac, they might be building their own machine or have a different machine, or have a more modern Tormac that has the accessory socket on the end of the cabinet. I should probably offer a cable with the XLR on one end and a decent length of cable with nothing on the other end, maybe 2 meters long, and you can fit your own connector on the other end to suit your machine and cut it to the length you want. So have a look on the website for the different options there. I'll work out what's best. I obviously don't want to have a huge range of options either. So at the end of the video, I'll put in some information on cable options for the ITTP Pro, how you might source your cables. If you have any technical questions, please put them in the comments below. If you have any commercial questions such as price and availability, please look at the Hallmark Design Limited website. I'll put a link in the description below. Alright, well, let's put some technical details in here. Might as well have them all in the same video. So the probe has a XLR mini male socket installed in it. So you'll need a mini XLR plug. So it's a female plug to be compatible with that on one end of the cable, and on the other end of the cable a connection to suit your machine. For example, Tormac is a 5-pin DIN plug. So I can see about 4 different options for you to source these cables. One is to go to the Hallmark website and buy a custom made tailored cable to suit Tormac and the ITTP, and I'll put in probably 1 or 2 options there of different lengths. The second option would be to buy from the website a cable with the XLR mini female plug on one end, and the other end just with no connector on it, and then you would purchase and install your own connector to suit your particular machine, or it could even be a Tormac. You could buy your own 5-pin DIN plug and put it on, and I'll probably supply that with a longer cable to give more options. So there's 2 options for sourcing. A third option would be to buy all 3 components. Obviously, it's just a 2 core, 2 connector wires inside the cable. It's good to get a kink resistant quality cable like this. It's got a high count of good quality synthetic rubber. So you could buy that a couple of meters from your local electrical supplier, and you could buy the plug, a mini XLR female plug. It's we're talking 3-pin plugs and sockets here. That's the smallest number, not available in the 2-pin, so we're only going to use 2 of the 3 pins. And then the third option is to buy a existing online, this will be the cheapest option, an existing cable that has the mini XLR 3-pin female plug on one end and some other random, you probably won't get exactly what you want, it's just too specialized, but some other random useless connector on the other end, and you just cut that off and connect on whatever connector you want. Now you've got to be careful with that option, because the pins might not be connected in the order that you wish, and you may need to resolder it, and that might mean you'd have to dismantle the plug, and it may not be the type that is easily dismantleable. So there's a caveat on that, be careful. So I'll go into how you connect it up now, just so that we're all talking the same language. So the convention for a mini XLR 3-pin, if you look online, you'll see there isn't really a standardized method for this, but if we base it off the full size XLR, usually in audio applications, pin number 1 is connected to ground or the cable shield if you have a shielded cable. So I haven't been using cable 1. I don't plan to use it. I might have used it initially in a couple of early versions, but from now on I'll be using pins 2 and 3 and leaving pin 1 disconnected. So what I would recommend doing is double check your probe by putting the plug in here. If it's just a plug you have, put the plug in because it's easier to get to those terminals. Put a meter on it and check that the circuit is switching on and off with 2 and 3. And once you've established that, you've confirmed it. If you've got a plug with a lead on the end, then obviously check at the other end of the lead and work out which are the 2 pins that are doing the connecting before you connect your connector on that end, just to confirm the circuit as you go. So it's a normally closed circuit running through the probe, and it breaks on a touch event when the stylus contacts the work. It breaks that circuit. So there's just 2 wires going through, for example, pins 2 and 3 going to, for example, a DIN plug on the other end. Now a DIN plug has 5 potential connections. And just put that in as well while I've got it all together. Let's just zoom in here. Now rather than give it numbers, which are pretty hard to see, let's just look at it geometrically. So we've got a central pin, this one here. So this pin and this pin, either side of center, they're the 2 pins that traditionally do the switching, for example, on a Tormark electrical system. So you want those 2 pins to be the circuit going through to the 2 pins on the mini XLR end, probably pins 2 and 3. Well, hopefully that covers everything, guys. Oh, while I'm at it, have a look at the pin connections for the mini XLR. Now be careful, because if you're looking at a socket or a plug, they sort of look back to front. And be careful also because the numbers are so small, it's very hard to see which numbers it is. And some of the Chinese copies have got numbers that almost look like they're in the wrong place. So don't trust the numbers 100%. Double check it with a multimeter. Make sure your circuit's correct. So thanks for watching this video, guys, and see you next time. Cheers.